Hey YouTube, thank you so much for joining again. Today I wanted to discuss a device that I just kind of absolutely fell in love with this year. I honestly did not want to or did not feel like I would purchase this device. I have a gaming PC, I have a PlayStation, an Xbox, and a Nintendo Switch. There was no need for me to get this device. Obviously, when it came out, I convinced myself. Obviously, I did kind of did this through my podcast as well, where I was, talking to you all, convincing myself as to why I purchased this. Whatever the case may be, I convinced myself to get this at the end of the day. And even initially, I wasn't sure how much I would actually enjoy it. I kind of went in thinking that, okay, you know what? If I don't need this, I can give it to someone else. I went in very, open-minded as to be able to kind of fully experience what this can do, but at the same time very cautious that this is not something that I actually kind of need. Like right now in December of 2022, I can definitely say I love this device. I need this device. It has become one of my most used devices at the moment in terms of gaming. Just in general, it has kind of just changed the way I play video games, and that device of course is the Steam Deck. You can see the photos there. I took a while to get to the Steam Deck point, but you get what I'm saying. I want to build it up because that's just how much I love this device so much. Like Valve has just done something so cool and interesting and innovative, and it has kind of allowed a lot of PC gamers like myself to be able to do that one thing that we would always picture in our minds, of being able to literally take the thing that's behind me and take it on the go. I'm not talking about a laptop. I'm talking about in terms of gaming kind of a standpoint and in your hands in that form factor. And obviously I'll get to the point about what the Steam Deck can actually do, which is kind of very close to a laptop. But in terms of gaming, it is basically what we always wished we could have done. And right now we can do that. All the games that I was kind of picturing in my mind that I would want to play on the go, like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Skyrim. I know that's on Switch and stuff like that, but obviously kind of fully bumped up Skyrim that could possibly run at 60 FPS. World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14, all those MMO games that you need to kind of grind out to, do whatever to level up your professions or jobs or whatever. You can do that just watching TV. You just go on your game, on your Steam Deck, play through whatever you need to play through, level up and put it away. And then maybe when you want to do a raid or something, you can come back to your PC. It just allows this flexibility that I did not think I needed until I had it. And now that I have it, I can't let go of it. And with the Steam Deck, I think that's kind of a point that a lot of times gets missed. A lot of people look at this as a Nintendo Switch competitor. A lot of people look at this as a gaming PC, just flat out. A lot of people look at this as something that competes with the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. It is more powerful than the Nintendo Switch, but of course it's not as powerful as those consoles, especially being able to put it in that form factor isn't possible just yet. But the whole point of the Steam Deck is almost like a companion to your other gaming systems. And I'm going to talk to people, in terms of if you have a PC and if you don't. But I'm especially talking to people right now in terms of if you have a PC. If you have a PC and you game on Steam all the time, this is a device that you honestly need. I know I'm saying that, I'm putting it out there, that you actually need this device. In terms of how you game and everything like that, you might prefer a seating position like this in front of your computer, and that's perfect, that's good. But when you have the Steam Deck with you to kind of accompany this, when you're done playing here, you can go on your couch, on your bed, wherever you may be, on the go, and continue playing those games where you left off. Come back and continue playing those games right here. The cool thing is that the Steam Deck allows us, especially when it comes to gaming on the PC, to kind of be able to take that whole mouse keyboard experience where you need to be in this specific space and take that anywhere you want. It's not just a gaming PC, it's also just, a PC on the go. For me, the thing that I've kind of noticed that I have been doing a lot of on it is playing things like I mentioned the MMOs, World of Warcraft, for example. I love World of Warcraft. I got into it this year, but I will be honest, if it wasn't for the Steam Deck, I would not be where I am with that franchise, to the point that I love the game so much. I'm playing Dragonflight, doing all these dungeons and everything like that. I would not be there if it wasn't for the Steam Deck. So this is kind of like the big, huge thing that I want to get to is Steam Deck does kind of enhance your enjoyment for games. And it sounds weird saying that because, you know, depending on the PC you might have a surround sound system, all that stuff, right? That itself will amplify your experience. But the Steam Deck does something that they can't do, is allow you to play that game when you think about it. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'll give you an example. When you're done playing here on your PC and you're kind of on the go somewhere, you might kind of it might pop up in your brain of like, hey, in Jedi Fallen Order, I didn't check this area. I didn't go here. Actually, I want to go back in and then check out this area. Maybe I gotta go here. That enemy that I was trying to fight was just so annoying. I need to go back and try to fight that enemy. Maybe I can beat him. Same thing with Elden Ring. I'm playing Elden Ring. Maybe I can just get here and I'll get to this point where I can open up another side of grace. I can rest there, prepare for the next fight. Same thing with World of Warcraft. You know what? I just need to grind out a little bit more. I just need that one more level and I can start playing with my friends. Whatever the case may be, you have those thoughts in your mind. With a Steam Deck, those thoughts can be actually put into action, and you can just say, oh, you know what, let me just quickly go on my Steam Deck. Let me just quickly go on this thing and just play that and just do what I was thinking about doing. So you don't need to be in front of your PC. You can be out. You might be on a break at work. You might be traveling somewhere. All those moments that you have that you were thinking about that game, you get to play it when you're thinking about it. And that enhances that experience because you're constantly thinking about it / playing that game at the same time. So you keep enjoying that game and that experience even more because now you're playing it. You're actually back in that game, back in that universe. And the other cool thing is, and this is something that I've kind of noticed in my setting, is that it is also a really good companion device of sorts. Obviously in the sense where your companion might be watching TV and you want to play some games and stuff like that, you can go on your Steam Deck, but also to get them involved. They'll also want to join in and start playing the Steam Deck, and you can hop on the PC and play a game together, especially because not everyone has 2 gaming PCs lying around. You can kind of share that experience. A lot of people don't talk about this. It's basically, it is a separate PC. It is a PC on its own. So you can literally play all those games, a lot of multiplayer games, because a lot of them do work on the Steam Deck, and you can play that with someone and they can kind of be playing it on the Steam Deck, or you can play on the Steam Deck and the other person can be on the actual PC. Whatever the case may be, it allows you to kind of enhance that experience as well and then kind of get more people involved. The Steam Deck has gotten a lot of people from my end who do not game want to buy the system because for them it's such an easy way to get in. It's an easy way to get into being able to play some huge, big marquee AAA games like Hogwarts Legacy, like, you know, not God of War, but anything, you know, I'm trying to think about like other big third-party, you know, AAA games, but you get what I'm saying. A lot of them see those games and are like, hey, you know what? I don't have a PlayStation, I don't have an Xbox, I don't really want to get that. But especially because it's something that's attached to your TV and everything like that. In this case, you can just get a handheld device, which is a lot more easily to digest for a lot of people who are not into gaming per se, and then be able to say, oh, you know what? I have this handheld device and I can play those games, enjoy those games, and then put it away. It's not like a full gaming system. This is why the Nintendo Switch is so popular. Nintendo Switch isn't popular for, you know, it being a gaming device that everyone wants in that sense. Obviously, you know, the games and the device in terms of how it works, all that is pretty awesome. But it is that idea of it being a handheld device at the same time. So a lot of people don't normally view it as a gaming device. I know like it doesn't make sense, but if you really think about it, in a way it does. A lot of people forget that they have the Nintendo Switch as a gaming device. It's more of a Nintendo Switch for these specific games to take on the go. Now, for the people that don't have a gaming PC at all, this device allows you to first of all get into that space and check it out and see what it's all about. Because I know it's a Linux-based system, but it does a lot of stuff that you would want to do on a regular PC. So it kind of opens you up to that. At the same time, it honestly is a proper PC. I have the Steam Deck dock and I've been using that here and there. I did have a couple of issues with it initially when I tried to set it up. It was just not working. It had updated and all that stuff, but it was just not working at all. Actually, it was just not giving me a signal. It was charging my Steam Deck, but not giving me a signal. I had to like restart my Steam Deck. I think I restarted it at one point and my Steam Deck would just not start up for a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes. So I thought my Steam Deck was gone, and then it finally restarted, and then all of a sudden the dock started working as well. So it was really weird. My Steam Deck's been fine since, but a weird experience nonetheless. But still, the dock is there, and you can honestly use this as a way to kind of just project it onto whatever you want and use this as a regular PC. I have literally gone in and for World of Warcraft, there's a lot of add-ons and stuff that you download to be able to play World of Warcraft in a much more easier way, because it's a little convoluted sometimes, especially with the map and this and that. I was able to do that, and like when you do it on the PC or on the Steam Deck, it feels like you're on the PC, because you have to kind of do specific things to be able to put it on in the add-on section of the game. And basically it felt like, oh yeah, I'm on the PC at the same time. You can connect your mouse and keyboard and play a game as if you have a mouse and keyboard. So I know with the PlayStation and Xbox, a lot of games do allow for mouse and keyboard, not all. But the Steam Deck, you can play any game you want with the mouse and keyboard, as long as you have a wireless one, or if you wire it in, whatever the case may be, you can play it the way you want to play it. I should also mention that, for anyone that's looking to stream and stuff like that, the Steam Deck is a very viable option. I have seen videos and stuff online that people were using it to make videos and stream as well. So it's definitely doable. It requires a bit of work, but if you're someone that's thinking about getting into streaming and you don't want to invest in a huge gaming PC, anything like that, the Steam Deck is not a bad option. And a lot of the games on the Steam Deck do run at 720p, which is a very good option to be able to stream online. So you'll be good. The games might not run perfectly or might not look amazing, but to be honest, when you're starting out, it does not really matter. Now, I've been saying a lot of good things about the Steam Deck, so I definitely want to talk about some of the bad things, because I want to be fully honest with you. With the Steam Deck, there's been like a bunch of weird issues when it comes to stick drift. So I had that in my first Steam Deck that I got, and I had to kind of go through the whole Valve RMA process and send it back to them, and they sent me a new one. The new one also has stick drift, but it doesn't really affect the gameplay, which is good. It's like a little dot in like a little menu that shows you how far the stick is drifting. In this case, it's staying in the circle, which is good. So that way, like, it's not impacting my game, but it's still kind of there. So I just wanted to mention that it's not something that's huge. And at the same time, if you have an issue with it, you can always send it back to Valve. Valve has been pretty good about that. And also, because of their association or their partnership with iFixit, you can actually order that part and change it on your own. So I ordered a iFixit right thumbstick for my Steam Deck, which I will, when I need to, just change it if I feel like it. It hasn't changed. It hasn't like really impacted my gameplay, so I'm not going to right now. But I do like that I have the option, and it's not just thumbsticks. On iFixit, they have like the battery pack, the touchpads, the screen. They have literally everything. So if there's a part that's not working in Steam Deck, and for whatever reason you can't go to Valve for it, you can actually just change it on your own, which I really like. The other thing is the games themselves. So Steam has this verified, not verified, kind of the yellow, or unsupported. Like, it has like kind of this weird tier system to determine whether a game is verified for the Steam Deck. Now the weird thing is, even if it's verified, the game might not run perfectly. So the game might not run the way you would want it to run. At the same time, there will be games that are unsupported or not verified or whatever, but they run perfectly without any issues. I mean, I'm talking about World of Warcraft that I have installed by installing the Battle.net server, not the Battle.net server, the Battle.net launcher, then installing onto my Steam Deck, like through a weird kind of channel. I don't think that's supported in a sense if you think about it, but that works perfectly, and I've been using that as a way to actually play World of Warcraft quite a lot. So it's weird how that system works. It's not really the greatest. I would just look at it as, if you have a game on Steam, just test it out yourself. Go on YouTube, check out other people playing it, and check out some of the settings that they're using, because finding the setting, and this kind of goes into my next point, is you really need to understand that in order to enjoy a game on the Steam Deck, you have to tune your settings. You can't, in most games, and I'm not gonna say that this is a thing for all games, in most games, you should be able to kind of go in and start playing and you're good, because it kind of auto sets the settings and everything like that. If you do start noticing games that are not running well, or having issues, or having some weird things happening, you do need to tune it, and you have to go in the settings menu and go through all that setup. When it comes to PC game settings, it's a lot to take in. It's nothing like what you see on console. So again, that's something that you can kind of research on, look online. A lot of people make a lot of good posts as to whether a game is running well based on a setting or this or that. So that way you're kind of covered. You don't need to worry about that. But that's definitely something to keep in mind. At the same time, a lot of times games might run okay, but there are ways to make them run better. And Steam and Valve don't tell you how, or the game developers don't necessarily tell you how. You need to, again, like I said, research and figure out, okay, if I do this, if I change this setting here or that setting here, rather than this game running at 30 FPS, the games will actually run at 40 FPS or 50 or like whatever it may be. You're basically able to kind of fine tune it. The other thing obviously with that is learn to kind of love 40 FPS. 40 FPS is kind of sweet spot when it comes to Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck is powerful enough to be able to make most games run at 30 FPS or so. If you tweak certain settings, you can run most of them at 60-ish maybe, but in most cases you want to make sure you run the game at 40 FPS, because that's kind of a good in between where the game runs smoothly and it's also, you know, not draining your battery, because the higher you have your frame rate, the battery's gonna get drained out pretty quickly. So 40 FPS is kind of that sweet spot, and that's a spot that I feel like a lot of people need to kind of adjust to liking. It is a little jarring at first when you play at 40 FPS. You can't tell, is this running at 30? Is it running at 60? It's kind of a weird in between. But when it is stable, you do get used to it and you do enjoy it. And like I said, the main thing is the battery. At least that way, that will kind of last for a little bit longer. Talking about battery is okay. I won't say that it's perfect, or it is something that we can just kind of say, yeah, you know what, it works for these amount of hours, because the battery does range from maybe an hour or so, depending on the game you're playing, to like 6, 7, 8 hours. So it is very dependent on the game you're playing. It is very dependent on the frame rate you're running that game at. It is very dependent on how comfortable you are on changing the power, thermal limits and all that stuff of your Steam Deck. There's a lot of things that you need to kind of do to be able to kind of make that more efficient. But if you're just going in, just blind, playing a game, if you're playing a game like Death Stranding, that will not play for super long amounts of hours. But if you're playing a game like Dead Cells or Hollow Knight, that will be a game that you can play for many, many hours. So it just depends on how intensive the game is and how much, you know, battery it requires to be able to run. I do wish that, you know, the battery levels were a little bit better, but I do get what they had to do with this device in terms of putting that power in there, plus the battery pack, making sure it's not too big, too heavy, all that. So I do get it. Obviously, it's a good way to kind of invest, you know, you can invest in a power bank or something like that, or if you're traveling, if there's an AC adapter plug-in, just kind of plug in your Steam Deck instead and play it like that. So there are ways around it. So I won't say that, you know, the battery levels are kind of the be all end all, you can't deal breaker, you can't buy a Steam Deck anymore. But if you are looking at this device as, yeah, you don't have access to any AC adapters or a USB port or whatever it may be, then yeah, definitely consider this, because the battery levels are okay. They're not as awesome as you might want it to be, but it does kind of get the job done. If you have, you know, if you're commuting somewhere, you should be fine. You should be fine in most cases. But then when you get to that point, your destination, you probably need to charge your Steam Deck. And kind of last point is, I think it kind of relates to what I said before as well, is that with newer games coming out, not all of them will run. I should just say that. There are ways to make a lot of these games run, and you know, you'll see videos and stuff online of people running some really high graphically intensive games like Callisto Protocol. But then it also comes down to, do you want to experience that game in that way? Do you want to play this game like that? Again, if this is the only device you have, then that's perfect. That's perfectly fine, and you'll still enjoy the game. But if you are kind of using this as a companion device, it comes down to, you know what, maybe I should wait. Maybe I should wait until I'm in front of my PC. And what worries me at the moment right now is that the device was made available early this year, but the technology within it is already kind of feeling a little bit dated. A lot of the newer games don't run perfectly well. At the same time, I don't expect a lot of the newer games that come out next year, like Final Fantasy 16, for example. I don't know about Street Fighter 6. I think that might be okay, but Suicide Squad. And like, I just feel like a lot of these games that you see as these huge cinematic, graphically intensive games, I don't think those will be able to run on the Steam Deck unless the developers themselves kind of figure something out and publish that out, you know, push that out for Steam users. But in many cases, it is kind of up to us to figure all those things out. So that's the thing that worries me, and I can see them building an upgrade path of, hey, in 2 years or maybe in 2024, they might release the Steam Deck 2, kind of like a PC, right? PC components and PC GPUs come out every 2 years. So they might do the same thing with that. But again, from the consumer standpoint, the Steam Deck isn't necessarily meant to be a PC like that. It's meant to be more of a Nintendo Switch like device that gets in a lot of people that have PCs, or gets in a lot of people that are not necessarily gamers but want to get into this PC gaming space. So I don't know if that 2-year cycle of putting out a new upgraded version might be the best. I could be wrong. It might be extremely successful, and it'll kind of find a way to find its audience. I think what it might be a little bit better is if they find a way to upgrade our current Steam Deck. So like I was mentioning with the iFixit thing, like you have the capabilities of being able to kind of change essentially everything within your Steam Deck. It would be pretty cool if they kind of offer you something on the side of, Steam Deck 2 chip or whatever, and you need to like basically replace it. Obviously, like I said, it's not something that everyone can do. I totally get that, but I would like that path to be available for people just in case, so you don't need to buy a new Steam Deck every 2 years. Especially, like I said, if the games were running great, especially the new ones that are coming out on Steam Deck, if they were running well enough, I wouldn't really say much. I would say, yeah, you know what, that's fine, upgrade path, all that stuff, that's cool. But because they're already kind of lagging behind, that's kind of what worries me, is that this device is only capable of playing games within the year that it comes out. So what does that mean for the Steam Deck 2? When that comes out, will it be viable for 2024 and then 2025 where like, all right, none of the games run? So that's another thing to keep in mind. Now the good thing is that the Steam Deck is widely available now. You can basically order it wherever you are and it should come to your doorstep within 1 to 2 weeks. So that is awesome. Now there's the 64GB model, the 256GB model, and the 512GB model. I have the 256GB model. The 512GB model, the main difference is that it has the anti-glare glass on the Steam Deck itself, and also has a faster SSD, I believe, or the fastest SSD, that's what it's described as. Whereas the 64GB model has an eMMC. I'm not sure what that is, but basically it's an SSD, but not as quick, if I'm not mistaken. I will definitely say that, obviously if you're in a tight budget, get the 64GB one and then buy a huge micro SD card, because those are pretty cheap now. Your games will run perfectly on your micro SD card. Most of my games are on my micro SD card, even though I have the 256GB model, and they all run perfect. I would kind of steer more towards the middle. The 256GB model is kind of perfect. It's reasonably priced. At the same time, it has that SSD, so when you get that Steam Deck, you can just start downloading games and playing games immediately. One thing that they don't tell you about is your Steam Deck automatically starts caching certain information from your game, so that when you turn on the next time, it runs a little bit smoother, runs a little bit quicker. So all that cache is kind of stored on the SSD. So if you have a 64GB model, that amount might get stored up pretty quickly. It might get used up really quick. So just be mindful of that, because I started noticing that with mine as well, where there would be like this other kind of thing in my storage, and I would not understand what that is, but that's kind of basically what it is. So just kind of keep that in mind. But otherwise, if you get any of them, honestly, you'll get the same experience. It's not like one performs better than the other. The good thing is you can kind of get that whenever you want now, order it, and it'll be there. Now the dock is something that I would say is not something you need. If you feel you're going to be using this as a PC or source something like that, if you want to stream and all that, then yeah, get the dock. There's actually a lot of cool third-party docks that are also supported. So if you don't want to spend that $100 or whatever the cost is for that dock, I would just kind of get a third-party dock instead, and they all work perfectly. I've used a bunch of them at this point, and they all work awesome. So you won't see a big difference. But with a dock, like I said, it's kind of up to you and your use case. Use it as something that you can kind of use it where you're streaming it or you're playing games here and there, but don't expect those games when you're using the dock to be able to output that resolution at 4K or 1440p. So you have to kind of mess around with the settings there when you're playing a game that's docked to a 4K screen or to a 1440p screen. I've played a couple of games like that, and I did have to kind of like push the slider down quite a bit in terms of the in-game resolution. Or if my settings were at medium, I would push everything to low. But even then, the games don't look or run that awesome on a big screen. I don't recommend it. This is kind of my opinion in terms of what I've seen with the dock. but I can totally see the dock being used in different ways as a PC. As sometimes if you want to play World of Warcraft or something that requires a mouse and keyboard, then go ahead. Just be mindful of the resolution, because the Steam Deck is built to target around 720 to 800p at 30 FPS. That's kind of what it targets. So when you're building up that resolution higher on top of that, I mean, the 30 FPS will not be happening at that point, especially if it's like a graphically intensive game. But like I said, you can find ways to kind of make it work. It's just not pretty on the eyes. So just keep that in mind if you're looking into that dock. So that's my video on the Steam Deck. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, all that. You know what to do. Everyone talks about it. So it really helps a lot. And thank you so much again for joining. I'll see you next time. Bye.